Let's continue our journey together from last time. And if you recall, we were discussing about God's love, and we were discussing about how every human being has this void, this emptiness inside, and that we try to fill it with all kinds of stuff. You know, whether it's entertainment, whether it's, even drugs or, work, all manner of things. I mean, you could name your own things. You're probably thinking of things now, even as I'm talking, that, oh yeah, well, I tried to lose myself in that or this or some hobby or whatever. But actually, what we find is that none of it works. So last time, as I say, we were discussing that, and then a couple of the folk that were with me, they gave their testimony about how they had found this love that they were searching for. They had found it by coming to the Father and coming to God the Father and allowing Him to love them. So this longing for love, to be loved for who we are, that came about when Adam and his wife Eve, when they fell out with God, they disobeyed God. The Bible calls it sin. They sinned against God, because that's what sin is. Sin is disobedience to God and His ways and His rules and so on. So the book of Genesis, which is found in the beginning of the Bible, is a historical record of man's beginning. I know there's all sorts of theories about it and this, that and the other, but the fact is that the book of Genesis in the Bible is a historical record, and it gives us an account of man's beginning. And the point being that Adam was the first man and Eve was the first woman that God made. If we choose not to believe what it says, then we will refuse to believe that we need to be reconnected to God, because that's where we find the reason for needing to be reconnected. And we actually will end up that we never get that longing inside of us. We never get it fulfilled. So, it's up to us whether we choose to believe it or not. God never took away choice from us. Even though we fell out of relationship with Him, He never took man's choice away. We get the right to choose. We get the right to choose whether we're going to believe or whether we're not. So if we choose to believe what it says, then what I'm about to share with you will be meaningless to you, because you'll find some reason to push it away and, oh no, I don't believe that. So, but that's okay. That's your prerogative. Whether you believe it or not, it's up to you. So, but we need to see that God is the source of relationship. He wants relationship with man, and He's the source. He's the source of this love that we so desperately need. The truth is, we all long to be loved. I said this before, but it's true. We long to be loved for who we are and not what we do. The need for mankind to be reconnected to God is why Jesus came to us 2,000 years ago. Whether you celebrate Christmas or not, the fact is that the true celebration is celebrating the birth of Jesus 2,000 years ago. Well, there was a reason for Him coming, wasn't there? He didn't come just to, make everybody happy at Christmas. He came for a purpose. He came for a reason. He alone is God's means of restoring us to himself. We have to have this broken relationship fixed, and we can't fix it ourselves. This is true, isn't it? God, who made Adam, wants all human beings to be his children, his family. He wants his family back. He wants his family restored to him. Oh, you can ask all sorts of intellectual questions. Oh, well, why did God allow this and why did God allow that? The fact is that you and I are not in step with him. But that's why Jesus came. He came with God's rescue plan for mankind. Something had to be done to restore our broken relationship to God. So God did something about it. He wants mankind back on his terms. God is holy and righteous. We're not, are we? We're not holy. We're not righteous. But God is. So how do we get back on terms with him? We can try all sorts of things. You know, we can try and be good. We can try and do good to others. All manner of things we try to do, but actually none of it makes us holy. Not holy enough for God. Not holy enough to be in God's holy presence. So what's to be done? Because this is all part of the longing that's inside of us. See, we were made for God. And so there's a longing inside of us. That longing has to be fixed. And that longing for love, that longing to be accepted has to be fixed. So God did something about it. You know, we're sinful, aren't we? We're incapable of being holy. Come on, let's get real. Every single human being is incapable of being holy. We could never make it. We'll never make it. You know, the Bible tells us that there's none righteous, not even one. There's no one who gets it all perfectly right. But there is one who was holy enough. God cannot deny himself. He can't. He's holy. He's otherly. So he can't deny what he is. God had to do for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. We could not fix this. We're incapable of fixing it. You can try all sorts of things to fix it, but you'll never make it. Look, let's face it, you'll never make it. You know, you can try and be as holy and righteous as you like, but somewhere along the line, you're going to have a bad thought. You're going to lose your temper. You're going to tell a lie. Somewhere down the line, you'll slip up. Well, you've only got to slip up once and you're not holy. Well, Jesus came for that reason. Why? Because Jesus was holy as a man. He came, born into this world as a man, and he lived a holy life. He never sinned once. That's why he's God's perfect sacrifice to fix the problem, to put us right with God. So he sent his son Jesus, who lived as a man and never sinned, not once. Even when people persecuted him, even at the point of his death, when they jeered at him, he never sinned. He took the punishment for us. What we deserve because we have sinned against God, what we deserve, Jesus took that on himself when he died on the cross. There's not one sin, past, present, or future, that Jesus didn't take care of when he died on the cross. He's the perfect sacrifice. So by putting our trust in him, what Jesus did for us on the cross. By doing that, we can be forgiven. We can be forgiven and healed up by God of our sin. And we can be restored to a relationship with him, a relationship of love, where God is able then to love us unconditionally. In his letter to the Ephesians, Paul wrote this. I'm going to read it to you. It's, if you know, I don't know if you have a Bible, but if you have one, you could always take a look at it. It's in Ephesians chapter 2, which is a letter that's recorded for us in the New Testament of the Bible. And it says this, in verses 8 and 9, it says, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not as a result of works, so that no one may boast." You see, no one can boast. No one can say, I've done enough to satisfy God. No, you can't. We haven't got it. We haven't got it in us. So if we ask God, if we ask him to give us grace and faith to believe in his Son, he'll do it. But you've got to ask. You need to ask. You say, well, how am I going to know? Oh, God will let you know. God will make sure that you're reassured that he's heard you. But we need to make a choice. As I said earlier, we've all got choice. We need to make a choice. If you ask him, he will give you the grace and faith, the confidence to believe that Jesus died for you on the cross, to reconcile you, restore you, bring you back into that relationship with your Heavenly Father, and you become one of his own children. Well, Mark, you've been listening to me John, while I've been chatting away here.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's happened to you in your life? How have you discovered what I've been talking about?
Yes, very much so. And I think, thinking about what you said there about all of us have a longing to be accepted.
Yeah.
I think I can honestly say that's me my whole life. Just longing to be accepted, longing to be approved of. And you mentioned earlier on about the void, that we can fill that void in our heart with so many things. I think I'd have to hold my hand up and say I filled that void with Christian activity. Great it was good, I got lots of pats on the back, but I was filling it because that's how I thought. The more I do, the more I please people, the more activity I do, the more I get accepted, the more I get approved of, and the more I get loved.
When did that start though? Did that start early in your life? Or?
I think that started right early on. I've never known my dad, and for me, part of my journey was that when I started coming to church, I discovered that if I did a whole load of activity, if I sung well, if I prayed well, if I read the Bible, loads of men in the church would go, "Well done, Mark, you're doing so good." And I didn't know it at the time, but looking back on it, that was almost like a drug to me.
Yeah.
Here's the approval I've always wanted. Here's the acceptance I've always wanted. But for one fatal flaw, men let you down.
Yeah.
So I could go from up here, oh wow, I'm accepted, to oh bother, I'm not.
Yeah. So, but of course, looking for approval is a natural instinct of human beings, isn't it?
Yes.
Because we all want to be approved of. But, my interest is that where did that approval start? I believe we were born like it.
Yeah.
We were born seeking it because of Adam's fall, because Adam fell out with God.
Yeah.
And ever since, we've been seeking approval.
Yes, yeah.
And yet we're seeking approval in one another.
Yeah.
But the only one who can really satisfy it is God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I was talking to the Lord about this, just in my own time with him, and I've often been called an attention seeker. And I was talking to the Lord about it and saying, "Oh, God, please help me stop being an attention seeker." And you know what he said to me? It was brilliant. And this is where I'm discovering that Jesus takes us to the Father.
Ah.
He said, "I don't have any problem with you being an attention seeker, Mark. It's where you go to get it. Come to me and you can have all the attention you want all the time."
Yeah.
And I think for me that was a realisation that my desire for approval in and of itself wasn't wrong.
No.
It was where I was going to get it.
When you say God showed you this or told you this, what's that about?
I guess it's just in my own time, in my heart, in my own time. It's a sense of, and it brought such a sense of relief.
Is it when you say? Is it a sense then?
Yes. Yeah.
So
It was me pouring out my frustration, just pouring it out, talking it out like I'm talking to you, and then getting this sense coming back, which is what I said there.
yeah,
God the Father saying, "I approve of you."
yeah. I'm just thinking of folk who might tune into this and thinking, well, what's the guy talking about? Because it's easy, I think, Christians can use a lot of jargon and that sort of thing, can't they, if they're not careful. So, I mean, we're just, kicking it around really, aren't we? So, yeah, go on then. So, basically then, your main desire was to be approved of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be approved of, to be liked, to be loved.
Yeah.
And I associated that with the more I did right,
Yeah.
the more I got loved.
Yeah.
The more I did wrong, the less I got loved.
Right.
And that ended up a treadmill of self-effort and try harder, which, if I'm honest with you, John, is exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting keeping it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So where does Jesus fit into all of that then?
For me, it's where Jesus said, "I am the way to the Father." And it's this realisation that my self-effort and my try harder won't go anywhere to get me close to the Father. When Jesus says, "I am the way to the Father," I realise that's what he's done for me.
Right.
He's come to reconnect me to the Father
Yeah.
through his death on the cross.
Yeah. Well, has that helped you with your desire for approval, or how does that work for you?
I'd say it's a work in progress. It's helping. I would not say I'm there at all, but absolutely I'm discovering that the more I go to Jesus to rescue me and fix me, the more, I guess the best way I can say it is, though I try to fix myself, I find I only do more harm.
Yeah.
I try hard to fix myself, but I get so knotted up and then I make it worse.
Yeah.
It's like digging a hole and you're digging deeper. Whereas if I just stop trying and come to Jesus and say, "Lord, help me," he is so faithful. He takes me back to the Father every time.
So in your own life, I was saying just now that if we ask God, he will give us the faith or the confidence, and he'll give us the grace and the confidence to ask him to help us to believe that his son died for us. And so, but at the end of the day, every person needs to actually do that personally, don't they? To actually ask Jesus to forgive them.
Yes.
And put them right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And fix us.
Yeah.
And I think that's what
But was there a point in your own life when that happened for you?
there was a point when I was very young.
Yeah.
When I first started coming to a church in Seaford, and that's when I discovered what I believe is the presence of God, and I started pursuing it. Then I ended up on a treadmill
Yeah.
of self-effort
Yeah.
and try harder. And for me, there's been various moments in my life, and actually it was you many years ago who brought me to that verse about if we confess with our mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in our heart God raised him from the dead.
Oh, in Romans.
Yes. And that for me was the start of a very different process. That is going on and on.
Right.
But it doesn't say if you work hard.
No.
It doesn't say if you try hard.
No.
It just says
If you
confess him as Lord and believe.
Yeah.
Believe he rose from the dead. And even as I say it now, I'm realising there's a simplicity to that that's not try harder, not self-effort.
And I think it's the realization as well that even, God even helped you to believe.
Yes.
It's him who gives us the confidence, the faith to actually believe. So when you think about it, we can't boast about anything and say, I did this, I did that, I said this, I said that. It's entirely down to God and his grace.
Yeah.
That's great. So I know that in recent times you've started to write songs about different things, haven't you?
Yes.
And I was listening to a song that you wrote not so long ago about the Father, and how did that come about then?
I've been on a journey of getting free from self-effort and try harder. And I hear a lot of people journal. They have a book, they write notes, and I've realised I've spent most of my Christian life copying people who I thought were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't me. I've just copied someone else's activity.
Right.
And as I started to explore this journey of freedom, I realised the way I express it is songwriting. So I just started writing songs that express what's happened in my heart. So, for example, getting free of trying hard and the treadmill, I started writing songs about it.
Yeah.
Getting free of fixing myself, because every time I try it, I make it worse. I write a song about it. So for me, I express that through songwriting.
Right. I can understand that.
It's almost like a musical journal.
Yeah.
It tracks a journey I've been on.
This song I heard recently was, you wrote a song recently about coming to the Father, or I can't remember the words offhand.
Was it the one that's one to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the first one.
Right.
That's the first one in the journey, and it was about running to him.
Right.
So, though I try to fix myself, I find I only do more harm. The more I do and the harder I try, I'm stuck in a jam.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to run to you.
I remember those words.
And it was all about the fact that I keep trying self-effort.
Right.
Whereas what the Father's saying, no, run to me.
Right.
Come to me and I will do it.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to leave it there for now, and we'll come back and continue the next time. So I think it'll probably be in August sometime, but keep an eye out for us and tune in when we're next here. So bye for now.
Though I try to fix myself, I find I only do more harm. The more I do and the harder I try, the more I'm stuck in a jam. To you, I'm gonna run to you.